Okay. Does anyone has a what do you call a administrator account right now? Because
You need developer account?
yeah, like a developer account, like a free developer account.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You need it?
Yeah, you just send me the username and password.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, thanks. And also, do you guys have all the recordings I uploaded on the YouTube channel? So I also uploaded the last week's one. So if you still think there is one missing, I need to go through my recordings. So
Yes, last week one
I think
missing, the Visual
no,
Force one.
no, I did it. Remember I sent you a message saying it has been uploaded?
Yeah, I saw your message, but I didn't find that tutorial on web.
Let me see. If I go to this one, where is it? What we did last time? The thing we did was Visualforce controllers. I have to find out. I can't see right now, so I'll just double check. Okay, so this is the password. Okay, can you send the verification code? Okay, so let's see, and then we're gonna go to the settings and see if the developer mode is enabled, because we will be creating our pages. So if you go to the advanced user details, click on the edit, scroll down, and development mode is enabled. Okay, good. Okay, so now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and talk about the standard controllers. Now, what do you mean by the standard controllers, or we can call it as the standard list controllers? So standard list controllers is nothing but basically it's like you can allow you to create a Visualforce page that can display on a set of records. Okay, so it's basically very similar to a standard controller, but it is like you are iterating through the list of those records. For example, you can have the standard list controllers can be used with account object, it can be used with asset, campaign, all the standard objects, and also it can be used with the custom objects as well. So it's where standard list controllers are basically similar to a standard controller, but basically what you can do with the standard list controller is it allows you to create a Visualforce page that will display or act on the set of records. Okay, how you can associate a standard list controller with the Visualforce page. So far you have seen that if you wanted to use a controller, what we just say is we just call it as this, we use this attribute called standard controller, right? And then we give us the name of our controller that we want to use. And this standard controller automatically, they knows that, okay, we are talking about account. So you do not have to do any coding or anything. This line will take care about, okay, which account are we talking about? Okay, now if you want to use a standard list controller, it's very similar to using a standard controller. So what you have to do with this is there is another attribute that you need to define along with the standard controller that you are using. So let's say you wanted to use a standard list controller. The attribute that you need to define is called as record set variable. Okay, this is the attribute, and then here you can say whatever the list name or whatever the list controller that you want to use, you can go ahead and name it with this variable called, or with this attribute called as record set variable. Now this record set variable attribute not only indicates that the page is using a list controller, but it also sets a variable name of the record collection. So basically this is telling you that, okay, you are using a standard list controller, but it also has created the name of that list, because the standard list controller is going to act on a list, or going to act on a set of records. Okay, so not only using this record set variable, you're telling the Visualforce page that I'm using standard list controller, but you're also telling the name of the variable that you're going to use it for your list. Okay, so this particular variable that you have defined, you can use it to access the data in the record collection. So let's go ahead and take an example. We're going to see what the standard controller and how we can define it. So we're going to go back here, and I'm going to just name it as, go here, call it as, slash, and then we can say hello. Let's say this is the name of our page. Okay. Oh, sorry, we have to use apex slash hello. Okay, so this is going to be the new page. Now we're going to go ahead and define our standard list controller. So first important thing is we're going to say I'm going to use apex page, and with this apex page you first will define what is the name of the standard controller that you're using. Okay, just by writing this line, he knows whatever is there in account object, the standard controller has it. Now since you're using a standard list controller, you need to define this attribute called record set variable, and here you are giving the name of the list variable also. And tab style is basically another attribute. I'll tell you what is the purpose of that in a minute, but it is just going to go ahead and show you the tab will be highlighted. Like here, if you're on the account object, this account object tab will be highlighted. So that's what it is doing. And if you don't want a sidebar, we're going to make it as false. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and close this tag by using a backslash here, and then next thing is I'm also going to use my page block here to make the page looks more cleaner. Okay, and in this page block I'm already having a table, because now what I wanted to do, I wanted to show the list of the records. So I'm going to go ahead and say page block table, and in this page block table, the what you wanted to go ahead and list, you wanted to go ahead and list that the list of the accounts. Okay, so what is the record set variable here? This one. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to iterate through this list, and for each list item I'm going to define a variable called a. So this is for every record. Okay, so here, so this A refers to what? This A refers to the, so in accounts list, there might be 15 records. Okay, so for each, so it will go through each of those records, and what will it display? It will display the name of the account. Okay, so I'm going to use a column here, and the value of this is going to be the A dot of name. and then close the page block, close this page block, and then we are closing this page. Okay. Now let's go back to our sales page here. Tab status account, sidebar is false, page block here. Then we have page block table, and then the value of the page block is going through this list of the accounts, which is similar to this one. For each of that, I've assigned a variable called A, and now it is going to go ahead and go through this. It's going to display the name of that particular A every time, which is nothing but the account name. So now if I go back here, okay. So now what does is it went to this tab style. So now it has gone through it has displayed you all the accounts here. Burlington Textile, all these different accounts. Let me go ahead and make this one. So it has gone through this. Now what you're telling here is this tab style is basically, it is going through, this is making this particular tab highlighted. So if you go ahead and remove this tab style, it is going to go ahead and take up, it won't make it highlighted, it will just go ahead and, let me go ahead and save it. It will display it. It's supposed to do like that, but I don't know why it's acting weird here. But what it does is this tab style is going to highlight your the tab here, that whichever tab you're using. Because since you're using a standard controller here, that's why this tab style is kind of getting overridden. Otherwise, what this tab style is doing is it is highlighting these accounts tab in among these other tabs. Now, in the Apex page block, so what I'm saying is go through the accounts. What is account? Is the list controller. And for each of that account variable, I have referenced it as A. So let's say it is going through the Burlington Textile. It's going through all the accounts. So first time this A is pointing to this one and it is displaying the name. Second time it is pointing to this one, it is displaying the name. So here you can also display multiple columns if you want. Okay, you can display the multiple columns if you want. Value is equals to, by what? You can say for each of these, I want to display the industry, let's say. Okay, so let's say they wanted to display the industry. You can go ahead and display the industry as well and close this one. So now it is going to give you the industry as well. So you can create as many columns as you want. So this is called as going through the list of the controllers. This is by using this attribute called record set variable. So it is basically creating a standard list controller. Okay. Anything? Are you following? Now this, using the standard list controllers, you can do multiple actions on different events. So let's say the multiple events can be, first of all, let's talk about what are events. Events are nothing but, let's say, if you click on a button, that is an event. Okay, if you click on a button, that is an event. If you do a left click on the mouse, that is an event. Okay, so when you run the application in the browser keeps record of what different events are happening. Okay, if you, let's say you wanted to trigger something or you wanted to call a action is what you want to do when that event occurs. So the browser continuously keeps an eye on what events are happening, and then if you have an associated action with it, means if you, let's say, when I load the page, do this. So do this part is called as action, and loading of the page is called as an event. Okay, so there are different kinds of event that can happen on a page. For example, if you click on, if you press a button, that is an event. Okay, if you created a button and now you can associate an action with that click of that button. If let's say there is a link here on the page and you wanted to do an action based on that link, so if you, okay, then if you wanted to periodically, if you wanted to poll something, like, okay, let's say if the session is timed out, you want to poll it after every 5 seconds, do this. Okay, after every 5 seconds, refresh the page. Okay, so then that is called as polling. Okay, if you wanted to uh, like if you wanted to make an event like on click or mouses over on mouse over or anything like that, that is also a kind of event that can happen. So if this epics page, if you have talked about what is this epics page, it is an attribute, but it is also a kind of event that it tells you that what you want to do when you load the page. So epics page is telling you, okay, what action do you want to do when you are loading the particular page here. Okay, so that is what the events are. Now for each event you have multiple actions to be taken. For example, if I go back here and I say epics page, and let's say there are different kinds of events. So first, what kind of different events are there? Let's say you have created a button, so you can say epics command button. Okay, so what this particular does, it is going to create a button for you. Okay, now what action do you want to take, that you can define using this attribute, and you can say there are different actions that you can also take. Okay, so you can say that I'm creating a button by using this tag called as apex command button. If you wanted to create a link here, you can do it by using a command link, so it will create a link for you, like a hyperlink for you. And when the user clicks on it, what you want to do, you can define that in the action attribute of that command link. If you are polling something, okay, means polling something means you wanted to periodically call an action. Every 5 seconds you want to call something. Then you can define that event here, and that is basically called as action poller. Okay, action poller. And then here you can basically call this after 5 seconds, 10 seconds, you can define the interval as well. Now let's say if you, there is another one is called as apex support, action support. Now what does this mean is basically this is an event, makes an event like on click or mouse over, these kind of. Okay, then you have, next one you have is basically apex page. Now what this apex page is? Apex page is basically, it calls an action when the page is loaded. So these are the different kinds of ways of creating an event, like click of a button, if you want to click a link, poller, action support, and then apex page. Now what kind of different actions you can take? Okay, there are multiple actions that you can take. For example, you can do like save. What happens when you want to save a record? Okay, that is what we have is a save. Next action that is called as quick save. Okay, now these are the actions. What you can do, you can save a particular record. Quick save is basically similar to saving a record, but it updates the existing records also. Okay, now unlike in the save button, what happens is you can go ahead and take that to the user to the original page. Okay, so you can so what the save does, save updates the existing records that have been changed. After this operation is done, the save will take the user to the original page. Means once the save, when you hit the save button, it goes to the main page, right? The account page, it gives you the full. Now, in the case of the quick save, is basically it records or updates the existing records, means it creates the new record or it updates the existing records. But in the save button, it takes you to the other page, but in the, you basically, unlike the save button, quick save redirect the user to another page, does not redirect the user to the another page. Okay, so you here in the quick save, you will stay there on the same page, but if you have the save button, it will basically take you to the other page. You know what is the difference between save and quick save? So if you have done a save, then what will happen is it will create an account and it will take you to this account detail page here. So it has redirected it to the other page. Okay. But if you are using a quick save, in the quick save, what happens is if you have saved it, it will remain on the same page that you are there. It will not take you to any detail page or anything. So there you cannot, what you can do is you cannot redirect in the case of the quick save. Are you getting it? Okay, good. Now, let me go back. What was the next thing? So cancel, there's another action you can do. Like cancel means if you click on the cancel, what will happen? It's going to abort the existing operation, and basically it will just cancel out. Okay, and if you want to, then there is another called first. If you want to display the first page of the records, let's say there are multiple pages. If you want to go to the first page, then you can go ahead and have the first. You can do a first. It will take you to the first page. There is a link to do next page if you want to go to the next page. These are different kinds of the actions that you can take. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and look at another example here. So do you know what is actions and what is it events that triggers the action? Okay. So first is going to display the first page of the records in the set. Last is going to display the last page of the records in the set, because these are associated with the standard list controllers. In the standard list controllers, you are going through the list of the records. Okay, you're going through the list. Okay, that is what the standard list controllers are. It is basically going to access the set of records. Now let's go ahead and talk about this pagination that I talked about, going to the next, going to the first. How does that work? So let's say what you can do is that is called as pagination. You have seen a lot of times, let's say there are multiple records or hundreds of records. You do not want to display all the 100 records in one page, because the page is going to take time to load, and also it won't have enough space to show all the records. So you always see something called as going back to the first page, next page, and then next page, and then next page. There are benefits of doing that. One benefit is, see, you do not have to load that much data at one time. Okay. Second thing is, there might not be that the page will take too much long time to uh, go ahead and load the whole page. Okay. So that's why it is always important to do pagination. Pagination means giving a view as a page, one page, second page, third page, fourth page. Okay. So let's go through and do how to do that. So first thing is, we're going to go ahead and say, okay, whenever you load this page, the standard controller that I'm going to use is the same account controller. Okay, and then if record set variable, because I wanted to use the standard list here, and you can define it as here, close this. Okay, and let me increase the size a little bit. If I wanted to have a page block, I'm going to call it as the title of my page is going to be called as viewing the accounts. So by default, this shows 20 records. Let's say you have 50 records, so it will go give you first 20 in one page, the next 20 in another page, and then next 10 will be in the third page. Okay, so this by default has a count of 20, and so let's go ahead and say Apex form. I'm creating a form here. The name of the form is the form. So this is the title of my page. I'm creating a form here, and in the form I'm going to go ahead and say page block section. I'm just want to make it a little more clear. And also inside of this one, this is my page block section. I'm using the standard list controller here. Okay, so now what it has done, it is going through it is displayed you all these records here. Now let's go ahead. Page block section. Now I'm going to go ahead and create this grid here. So I'm creating a link here. Okay, so how to create a link? You've already seen command link is the way to create a link. Okay, and what you want to do here? So I told you different actions you can do. If you want to go to the previous set of records, then you can use previous. Okay, so this is already a defined thing. You just need to call it. Okay, this is the action that you want to perform. What is that? When you want to do it? When somebody clicks on this link. Okay, and what is the name of the link? You can always go ahead and name whatever you want here. So if I say previous, this is the name of my link, and this is, I am closing my link. Okay, so I'm closing my link here. So if you scroll down, you see this previous. What will it do? It will take you to the previous set of records. Right now I think it only lists 20, so it is, I think there's only 20 records probably. Let's go ahead and previous, and then this is the next set of records if you want to take. So there is already a action associated, and we just need to call that action, and you just call it as a next here. So you say here is the previous, here is the next here. The next is going to take you to the other set of records. If I go back here, so it's going to take you to the next section set of records. If you want to go back to the previous, this is the previous set of records. Okay, so it is going to display you all the records, and this is in a pagination view, means you're doing it in a page view. So you go to the next page, it is going to show you the total records that you can see it on one page will be approximately 20. Okay, and I think it's 4, 2, yeah, 16 and 620. So there's going to be 20 records that is showing, and then if you want to the next whatever the record, it's going to go ahead and display here. Okay, so this is called as the pagination view, and you will always, you might want to see when you're displaying those too many big records, you will always want to have it in a page view instead of using a like displaying all the records at a time. Okay, any questions on this one? Okay, so let me go through this one more time here. So what we are doing here is we are telling that, okay, I'm using a standard controller, and I'm also using a standard list controller. The name of my list controller is accounts. So basically this account is a variable which is basically is a list of the account records. Okay, and I've created these are just the tags to create the more cleaner look. So I've created a page block here. The name of the type page block is doing account. That's what you see here. And then I've created a form here. Now in the form, what I'm doing is I'm creating a list view. So this is data list. Okay, this is a tag to list the items. So I'm saying go through each of the variable accounts and display the name of it. So let's say there are 25 account records. So for each of those account records, this is the variable, which is first time it will point to United Oil and Gas, second time it is going to point to this one, third time it's going to point to this one, fourth time it is going to point to this one, and I'm displaying the name of each of those accounts. And then there is a grid I made it, which is just again a kind of giving you a cleaner look here. And then I have, let's say if you just get rid of it, the view might be different appear. I've created 2 command links here, and I'm saying action for this is previous. This previous, he already knows what previous does. Previous is telling you you are using a page view, you're doing pagination, so I already know what previous meant. Okay, so he knows that previous means going through the previous list of record. This next, you don't have to tell what next is. You don't have to define next. They already know what next means because you're using a list controller. So this is going to give you to the next set of records. At one time, it is going to show you 20 records. Okay. So that is what the list controller is doing. So this is the next thing that we're going to go ahead and do is, let's say you wanted to go ahead and have like a filter. Okay. What does that mean is, for example, see here, there are different views, right? Different views. So if you go to the counts, you see this is the different view. So if I pull up all accounts, it is only going to, it will show all the accounts. Okay. If I go ahead and change the view to my account, it will only show the accounts that are created by me. Okay. So this is Ravi. Now, if I go ahead and show last week how many I created, then this is going to be this. If you want something similar, okay, if you wanted to filter out based on what view of the records that you want, you can also do that as well. So these are the platinum and gold SLA customer, recently viewed accounts are these. So this is, you can get this filtration as well. Okay, how? Let's go ahead and see. So what we're going to do here is, I already using a standard controller. Record set variable is this one. Page blocks the same thing. Apex form is the form. Okay, only changing this part. Creating a grid here. Output label, just to display something. Okay, output label, the name of the label is view. So here, if I wanted to say view the accounts, so this output label is going to show you this part. Okay, every time I'm doing a refresh, so you know exactly what it is doing. Okay, so the title of the page block is this one. The next thing is Apex output label is, this is the label. Like if you want to, let's say, enter your name. Okay, that is the label. Okay, this is the output label. This is the tag that you need to use. Now, whatever is the name of whatever you want to display, you can enter it here and close your output label. Now, next to this one, I also wanted to have that select list. Remember, the select list that I'm talking about is this. This is the select list. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and display these select list here. Filter ID here, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a size of. Okay, so this is going to be, right now it is telling you, okay, you can only select one item here. Okay, so let's say this is not a multi-select list. You cannot have all accounts and my account selected together. You only want one of this from the selected. So this is what it is doing. It has created a select box for you. Okay, and what is the size means you can only select one item at a time. And right now this is not showing you anything. There's nothing in this select list here. Why? Because you need to define what goes in your select list. So here I'm going to say the options of my select list is, okay, what I want to display. Okay, value is equals to what I want to display. I wanted to display the list view app options. Now, what is this list view options doing? This list view option is a variable which knows what are the list view options. Means it knows about, let me go ahead and tell you. Let me go ahead and say action that I wanted to do is whenever somebody clicks on this action support, event that I wanted to do is on change. Means if somebody changes the select, means if you go to the next select, what you want to do. If this you go, you need to re-render the list. Means you need to go through and you need to go ahead and get the list again, because now you need to change the contents here. That is called as re-render. Okay, re-render the list. Now what is this list? We are going to define now. Okay, what is this list? We're going to tell. So this is my select options here. Right now it is not pulling up anything. It is just displaying you all. Now what you're telling is whenever you change the list view options, means all these options, whenever you change all these options, I am going to go through. If you move from this option to this option to this option, you need to render this list. Means you need to go ahead and fetch the list again. Now what is this list pointing to? Okay, now you need to define that list. So for that one, I'm going to go ahead and create a section here.
Hey, Deepika, a
Yes.
small doubt.
Yeah.
Now, if we select an option in the front end, like in Visualforce front end page,
Yeah.
is that it directly gets stored in the backend, or do we need to press any button, like we need to use a submit and need to store that in backend? So is there any option, like if you check any checkbox at the front end, so on checking on making the checkbox true, it should get stored at the back. It should get true at the
No,
back.
no,
Is
no,
that
no, 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 no. So what happens is you need to define what you want to do. So let's say, so this is what you can do. So if the user says input type is equals to checkbox, okay? So if you do
yeah?
input type is equals to checkbox, it is going to display you a checkbox. Now, if you wanted to
Okay.
go ahead and if you click on the checkbox, what you want to do, you need to define that. So you need to say that, okay, if the checked is, call this function. If it is unchecked, call this function. Are you
Oh,
getting what?
can we call a function with the checkbox?
You can do anything with that. Like if the value of the checkbox
Even a
is
method?
no, what you can do is you can say if the value of the checkbox is true, do this. So that you can write as a function.
Oh, okay. Here, if the value is true,
Yeah,
okay,
and
then
then
can I run a method
exactly you
from the
can do that.
controller?
Yeah, you can do that. Like you can
Hey,
define
actually, I tried it, but it did not work.
either you might be. Sometimes what happens is value if true, it takes it as a string. You know what I'm saying? So see, if you wanted to see here, what will happen is uh, this true, he might be considering it as a string, and this
Okay.
function value if true is basically asking it to have a like a boolean true. So that is why that function might not have got called. You know what I'm saying? Means he is
Oh,
thinking you're talking about the true as a string, but this is checking it for a boolean. So either sometimes if you use like true in this way, it might work. I don't know exactly what it is, but if you use these single quotes around
uh-huh.
the true, then it will take it as like a boolean thing.
Okay, I'll try.
You try that one, okay? Because
Yeah.
this kind of issue I had it very recently, so I know back of my mind there's something happened with that, because I was trying to call a
Okay.
function based on the true and it was not getting called, and I was like, why is it not getting called? And then I realized that you need to use this special notation if it is boolean. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if it
Yeah.
because I was using JavaScript, so I don't know if it's going to work with yours, but try this one.
Oh, I can try.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here, let's say this is multiple select list and you are on this particular, so you can here say on change. Okay, there is an event you can do, like if every time this particular select list changes, I wanted to go ahead and re-render the list. Now what is this list? We are going to define now here. So now here I'm going to say apex page block, apex of data list. Okay, and go through the list here, variable is equals to a. What you wanted to go? You wanted to go ahead and go through this account list again. And here the name of this is list. So this is nothing but the same list you're talking about up there. Okay, so what it is doing, it is going through and it is telling you that, okay, ID is equals to list, and here I'm going to go ahead and display the a dot of name. Okay, now let me go ahead and see why it is not showing me all the options. Viewing the accounts, this is the form, this is my account controller, I have used my variable. Okay, so because you were using that ID, so here you can see what you're doing here is you are saying for this select list, this particular list view options is pointing to this whole options. Okay, this is the variable which has all the options related to the account. Okay, so this is the one. So select options value. So if I go ahead and comment this part of the code, let's say I just commented this part of the code here. So now this select list view option is basically giving you this option. So this list view option somewhere is defined that, okay, it has all these values. Okay, all these values. It has been defined already. So you just need to use it, list view options. Now in this list view options, now if you change from this to this, what you want to do, this is an event on change. Means when you change the select list, you need to re-render the list. Now what is this list? List is nothing but it is that whole set of records. Okay, let me go ahead and uncomment this line. So this is going to be, so go through all the account records and this is what the list is pointing to and display the name. Okay, and if you change it to new last week, it is going to see, okay, it is going to re-render again, means it is going to go ahead and call this function again and it is going to go through a new list. Okay, if you go ahead and change it again, it is going to re-render the list. So automatically every time you change the option value, it is going to go ahead and give you a, it is going to go ahead and give you a new list. Okay, it's going to re-render again and again and again. Are you getting my point here?
Yes.
Okay, now the next thing here is, Priyanka, are you following? If guys, I'm telling you, if you have in future, if you don't know what the tag means or how many tags are there, you should always go through this Visualforce. This is a very important Visualforce guide. Okay, tags guide. So it will give you all the tags that you can use. Okay, and whatever the tags are there, you can go ahead and go through all these different tags. And you'll have a list of what is Apex page does. If you want to know Apex page tab, this is the name of the page, what it does, what attributes it has. It is going to go through this list of the attributes. You don't need to remember all of them, but what are standard controllers? Okay, how you're going to create a standard controller, what is custom controller. So this is, you should always refer that document. Okay, And the next thing is we're going to go ahead and see. So far we've talked about the standard controllers. Standard controllers have been already provided to you for the standard objects. Now we need to go ahead and create something called as the custom controllers. Now what are these custom controllers and what are these controller extensions? Okay, a custom controller, now let me go ahead and write down. A custom controller is an Apex class that implements all of the logic for a page without leveraging, means without using the full ability of a standard controller. Okay, that is what the custom controller is. Now when to use the custom controllers? When you want your page to run in a system mode. Now what is the system mode? System mode means which does not enforce any permissions or any field level security on the current user. Means, let's say if the user is an admin or if the user is just a standard user, if you do not want any of those things to be implemented or enforced, if you don't want those permissions to be enforced, what permissions he has, or if you don't want to act according to what roles he is, what permission he is, then you can go with a custom controller, because custom controller always run in a system mode. Now what do you mean by system mode? A system mode is basically which does not enforce the permissions and the field level security of the user. Means he's not at all going to look at what permission he has, what field level security he has. If you just want to run your code independent of all these, then you can create a custom controller. Okay, a custom controller is an Apex class that implements all the logic of the page without leveraging a standard controller. Okay, and when you want your page to run in a system mode, means independent of, or you do not want to enforce any permissions and field level security of that user, then you will go with the custom controller. Okay, now what is a controller extension? What is a controller extension? Controller extension is an Apex class which basically extends the functionality of a standard or custom controller. Means if you want to do something else, or if you want to do more from a standard controller, if you want to do more from a custom controller, then you can go ahead and use a controller extension. Okay, so what is a controller extension? A controller extension is also an Apex class, that extends the functionality of a standard or custom controller. Means you can do more of custom controller. When you want to use the controller extension, you should use the controller extension when you want to leverage the built-in functionality. Okay, means if you want to do something more, okay, of a standard controller, okay, or a custom controller, but if you also want to override the actions, let's say on save it just saves it. Let's say you want to do something else when save happens. If there is an edit, you know what happens when you edit something, or if you cancel something, okay, or delete something. But if you wanted to go ahead and add more functionality to it, then you will go ahead and use the controller extensions. Okay, a controller extension is an Apex class that extends the functionality of a standard or a custom controller. When to use the controller extension? If you want to leverage the built-in functionality of a standard controller, but also want to override the actions like save or delete, etc., you can use a controller extension. Or you want to add new actions, then you can go ahead and use in controller extension. So controller extension is going to do more or goes way beyond what standard controller can do. If you wanted to add another things or you want to add a new action to it or new functionality to it, then you're going to use the controller extension. Controller, custom controller, if you want to run your code independent of the security and of the field level security or the permissions and all that kind of stuff, if you wanted to run your code in a system mode, then you're going to go ahead and use a custom controller. Okay, now we're going to see what this custom controller can do. Now a custom controller will also have a no argument constructor. Means if you're using, let me show you what does that mean. So first we will go ahead and create a custom controller. Okay, are you clear on the definitions, guys? What is a controller extension and when to use a controller extension? What is a custom controller and when to use a custom controller? Abhinav, Priyanka, Ravi.
Yeah.
Priyanka? Okay. So what it is, a custom controller is if you want to run your code in a system mode, means independent of what the user permissions are, what role he is, what security he has, independent of that, then you will go with the custom controller. But custom controller without leveraging a standard controller means it does not, that is what the custom controller does. A custom extension is, controller extension is basically going to build an extra functionality over the standard or custom controller. If you want to add something new, if you want to do something beyond what the actions are, if you want to create your own actions, then you're going to use a controller extension. Now, first go ahead and create a custom controller. So we're going to go ahead and go to this Apex class here and I create a new class. Why is it slow? Okay, new. So we're going to go ahead and create a new class. I will just call it as a MyController. And you are using an account object here. Now this is what you're creating. You're creating a constructor here of MyController, and I already told you a custom controller. So we're using a control cannot have an argument constructor, means you cannot provide a constructor with the parameters. Okay, so there on a custom controller will always have a default no argument constructor. Okay, so here public my controller you have created, and so this is all, every time you instantiate your controller, means whenever you say in your Visualforce page controller and you give the controller name, this part of the code is going to run because you are instantiating it. So, and this is what? This is a constructor. Now what is a constructor? Constructor is used to create the object. Okay, that is what the constructor is. And in a custom controller, it will always have a no argument constructor for a top level class. Top level class means the top class, and then you can inherit from that class. Okay, so this is my controller here, and inside of my controller, what I'm doing, I'm running a query here, and I'm saying select the ID, comma name, comma site. All these are the different columns from which object, from the account object I want to run, where, what the ID is, whatever the ID you give. So the current page, so this is a global variable, apex pages dot of current page means wherever the page I am right now, in that current page, if there is a parameters, get me all the parameters in that page, and I only interested in the parameter called as ID. Okay, just hold on for a minute. I'm going to tell you where it is going to find out. So this is, what is this account? This is a variable of account. Okay, account object. Now what it is happens, whenever you're going to call in your Visualforce page a custom controller, this is a constructor for it, and a custom controller will always have a no argument constructor. In this constructor, I am telling select the ID, the name, and the site from this account table, where just give me that record where the ID is equals to the ID. Means whichever record I'm asking from the ID, just give me that. Okay, and then there is another getter setter I'm going to create, get account, which is going to give me this particular, return me this account. And I'm also going to say save here. Okay, page. Update the account means if there is any changes, update that, return me a value now. So this is your custom controller that you have created. Okay, okay, you need to have a closing for this one too. Why it is giving a line number error at 6? Apex page, oh, dot current page, dot of get parameters. Did I do something wrong? Oh, it's over here. Okay, line number 5, public controller, my controller. Yeah, so this is going to be controller. It should be just single object. Why? Because I'm doing it with the ID. So why is it expecting it to be a list? Public, my controller, public class, my controller. Just go ahead and do this one. Account object is a select the ID, comma name, comma site from the account object where the ID is equals to apex pages dot of current page that I'm on. Give me the parameters and only give me the ID of that. So this is only going to give me one single record. So why is it taking multiple? And then I have a method called getAccount, and then I have a method called updateAccount. Guys, do you see any error? Let me just go ahead and this should not matter, but let me just go ahead and change it if it matters. ID, comma name, comma site from account object where ID goes to this one, Apex pages dot of current page dot of get parameters dot of get me the ID of the parameter, and this is going to give me a single record. At line number 7, let me just go ahead and write it again. Because you're doing a select query on an ID, and that ID is only going to give you one account object. So I don't know why it is giving me expecting a list. Sometimes it's just the caching of the memory, or because this is cloud, right? So you don't know what is going on. Let me go ahead and log out and log in back again. Okay, now private variable final creating a public constructor which is the same name as the class name. There's something wrong with it. Right? And then here you're using the ID where the public account is equals to get account, return the account, public page reference is save, and then you're updating the account, and this worked fine. Do you see any difference between this class and the other class, guys? Because sometimes if someone else looks at a view, he might get a different idea. So I just want to make sure if I'm doing something wrong in the other class. Is anyone here? Okay, so this is our controller, custom controller I've created. Now I'm going to call this custom controller in my Visualforce page. So let's just stay on my ID for a while. Apex VF example. Okay, so in this, so I've created my custom controller here. And in my custom controller, I am going through the, so I've created this custom controller. I'm going to go ahead, create, now call this custom controller in my Visualforce page here. So what I'm going to say here is the Visualforce page instead of saying standard controller, now you will say controller. Okay, and then you will give the name of your controller. Now what is the name of your controller? Name of my controller is equals to my controller tab style. Now here it will act differently, because remember in the previous example when we removed the tab style, it did not matter. Even then it was giving you the, see here if you go ahead, because you were using a standard controller, so standard controller already knows what to do. Okay, so that's why it did not using a controller here, and the tab style is equals to account. Okay, so we are using this controller called as my controller here, and then I'm going to go ahead and use this form. Okay, so that's fine. This is because ID is equals to, let me pull out a particular account record here. Let's go ahead and pick it up. This one, ID is equals to this. Okay, so the reason why, because you are not giving any ID here. So what the my controller is doing, my controller is select ID names comma from the account object where ID is equals to current page. So you are on this current page, you're going through the list of these parameters and you're only looking for the ID parameter, and then you're going to get the whole information, the name, ID, etc. of this particular ID record. Okay, so that's why if you remove this, it was this is crashing. The controller is kind of getting crashed because it is looking for the query is not getting complete. Okay, and that's why the object that returns is a null. So that's why we were getting an error here. So if you go back to this, sorry, if you go back to your my controller class, what is this class doing? It is basically the controller class. It is looking for a particular record where the ID is equals to the ID that you have provided here, and that's why if you remove the ID from the page, it was giving you an error. And now inside of the controller you have a get method which is going to return you an account object, and then you have a save method. Basically it is going to save that account object or insert or update, whatever it is. Okay, if you're right now we're changing the existing record. So right now here, if you remove the tab style, what will it do is it will not highlight the accounts. There it was highlighting it because you were using a standard controller. So already had that tab style functionality inside of the standard controller. Here you are controlling you're creating your own controller. That's why it does not have all the features of a standard controller. So that's why this tab style matters here. Did you get it what I'm saying? See this, if you do the tab style, it is going to highlight this particular tab here. And now I'm calling this my controller. What is my controller? This particular class. When you call, what part of this is going to get called? The constructor will get called. Okay, the constructor will get called here because this line is going to instantiate your controller. Instantiate means creating an object of this controller, and which is the one which creates the instantiate is the constructor. We have talked about it earlier. What is a constructor? Constructor is used to create object of a class. Okay, a custom controller will always have a single, sorry, no argument parameter constructor. Means you cannot provide arguments, you cannot have a parameterized constructor for a custom controller. Guys, let me know if you are not following properly. If you have any issues, let me know. Okay, so here I'm trying to define each and every line so that when you go to real time, you know what it is, what controller to look for, what it is doing. So you just need, most of the time when you go for coding, you might not need to write a lot of things because there's already a code existing, somebody has written, and you just need to use, if you knew what things are, then you can easily track down and you can resolve things. Okay, so Apex form here, I'm going to go ahead and create, I'm going to call my custom controller here, and inside of my form, I'm going to create a page block. Okay, and inside of this page block, the title of my page is going to be congrats, and then if I wanted to go ahead and define the first name, I can go ahead and pull up the first name of the user here. Because you did not use a user sign here, that's why dollar sign here, that's why you have to use a dollar sign. Now here you can say you belong to account name, which account name you're talking about. Now your input field is what? To get the input from the user. You knew that already. Input field is to get the input from the user. What that user is going to be, this is going to be the account dot of name. Okay, and then here I'm going to create a button. Apex dash here command button. I'm going to create a button here. The action on the button is the same regular save action which we have already seen, just to save the existing. Value is equals to whatever you want to do, save it. Okay, this is the label for that. Okay, and then you have closed it. So now what you see here is, this is the label. What does it does? It does basically, first let's see why this account name is, what is this account coming from? This account is coming from this get account method. You don't have to call get account specifically. It already knows what you're talking about. If you just specify account, this particular part of the code will run and it will give you the account object. Now what is this account? This account is nothing but what you pulled up here. So it is going to give you ID, name, and site. So what you're printing here, you're only printing the name of that from there. So that's why you're going to go ahead and get the name here. Now here, if you want more stuff, you can say, just go ahead and copy paste. You can go ahead and get the site as well. Okay, so it's going to give you a site also. So you belong to the account name, and then this is the site. Right now it's empty. That's why it is not pulling up anything, because the Priyanka site is empty. That's why. Okay, and if you don't want this line, just get rid of this. And then you have the save button. It is going to go ahead and call the save method here, which is basically going to update that particular account, and it is going to give you a null. Okay, here if we, in our save method, if we just change it and we say delete the account, then what's going to happen, that particular account will get deleted. So we are kind of changing our action on the save, because we kind of wrote our own save method. Right now you can see Priyanka here. I just want to prove you here that this save is calling the save method of ours. So if I go ahead and save it, what's going to happen is that delete operation got called. Okay, whatever, it got failed for some other reason, but that operation got called because you were not able to delete that, because it had some cases associated with it. That's why you were not able to delete it. First you need to delete the child and all that. That's why it goes. But we kind of manipulated our save operation, and what I ended up doing in our save, we defined that I'm not interested in saving, but I wanted to delete. So this particular where is our Apex class? So what is our Apex class doing? Here it is saying that, okay, I want this save method is calling our save, the one in the Apex class that we have created, save method. So that is the method that is getting called. So if you want to change that, you can go ahead and change it to a different name as well. Instead of saying it as a save, you can save it as done. Okay, the method name can be done, whatever you want to do it. So let's go ahead and change it. So that is what it is calling. So you have created your own custom controller. Are you getting my point here? Now in custom controller, you will be independent of what the user permissions are and all that kind of stuff. But if you want it to work according to that, then you can do it by using a what you call it as, by using a keyword called with sharing. Okay, if you use with sharing means it will take into account the permissions, the security, the field level security of that user. If you will use with sharing with that class name. So if you do something like this, public class, and then this is going to be with sharing, then what it is going to do is it will take into consideration the all the other stuff here. Okay, so that is what this particular with sharing keyword will do. Okay, so if you wanted to go ahead and make sure that it takes into account these things, then you can use the with sharing with that. And I think the project that I've given you, I think it was on Lightning or RESTful, it has the use of with sharing. Okay, so you can go ahead and take a look at what with sharing means. With sharing is basically if it will take into account all the permissions of that particular user, because if you're using a custom controller, it will be independent of what is the permissions of the user. It is going to run it in a system mode, okay, without any worrying about what permissions and all that. But if you wanted to make sure it uses those, then you can use this keyword. Okay, so this is how you're going to create your own controller. If I go ahead and change it to something else here, hi, and if you say here inside, and here if you go ahead and change it to, what just happened? It just keeps removing that ID thing. That's not pulling up anything. But yeah, so this particular, I'm not going to change it because it's going to cause confusion. So just going to go ahead and call the save method, because on the other VF page is going to call the save here. So this is our custom controller. Now we're going to go ahead and see how to build a controller extension. Okay, and what is a controller extension? So controller extension, as I told you, is any Apex class that is going to basically leverage a standard or a custom controller, any of those. Okay, but in the custom controller extension, it will have a constructor which will take one argument, a single argument of type standard controller or a custom controller. So because controller extension is going to extend the functionality of either a standard or a custom controller. Okay, so the controller extension needs a parameter which tells you which standard controller are you talking about or which custom controller are you talking about. So that's why it is going to go ahead and it needs a parameter. Okay, so in a custom controller, the constructor is going to no argument constructor. In a controller extension, the constructor would be a single argument, means it will take one parameter. Let's see it. Okay, let's go ahead and see what I'm talking about. Now I wanted to go back to, if this, I hope it does not give you an error here, Ravi, this time at least, because in the last example, I still don't know why it gave you error. The same exact class with same API version, it worked in the other one, didn't work here. I don't know what you're doing.
What this? What does this API version make difference?
It's mostly like what is the current code base that says, is it an updated version? See, anytime they make changes, they bump up that version. So that's API 37 means it's the recent one, the recent release one.
Okay. Okay. So any updated code, we have to use this updated version, right?
Yeah, we use updated version, but I don't know why because I didn't find any difference in this class and the class that I'm using, the other login. But I don't know, it didn't work for some reason. Okay, so here, let's go ahead and create the new one. And I'm going to create. So now you should definitely know, people will ask, what is a custom controller? People will ask, what is a controller extension? They will ask when to use a controller extension. They will ask when to use a custom controller. You should know the difference between both of them. if you just give me the definition that I just gave it to you, they will be happy with that. Okay, so building a controller extension. So we're going to go ahead and create this controller extension. We'll call it as public class MyController extension. Okay, and inside of this MyController extension, I'm going to go ahead and create a variable private final account ccd public. I'm going to use a constructor here. So this is the constructor apex pages dot of standard controller. Have you played around? Have you changed anything on the account object, Ravi? If you remember,
Change in the sense?
like playing around with what account object is instead of creating records, like anything else besides doing that.
No.
Are you sure?
Yes. As far as I remember, I didn't do anything.
Because I'm still trying to worry why didn't that run in your machine and it ran on the other machine. This is again giving an issue. Yeah, I'm just gonna switch back to mine. That class didn't run either. So go ahead and create a new class.
Is there any security like which is
Because see, I'm using
making
this,
this?
I don't know, I have no idea. I need to dig into that. But by looking at it, I don't see any difference, but I don't know why it's not. Maybe it's something only with the account it's not working. Try to do some more examples, Ravi, and tell me if you're still facing some issues.
Okay.
Because I don't know why.
Yep.
So I'm going to use another controller extension here. 2, let's say. Okay. And this is my controller extension. Name of my extension is 2. And I'm creating a constructor here with this name, my controller extension 2. And what is it? And it's always going to be it's going to take a parameter of either will be of standard controller or will be of the custom controller. controller. std is the name of the controller. And so this is the standard controller here. This dot of account is equals to okay, see, it didn't work, it worked here, and the same exact code didn't work in yours. So try to create another account, okay, and try to do the same examples in those ones and see if it is causing any issue. Okay. So public class, so I'm creating a controller extension here, and I have created a variable of the account object called as ACCT, and I'm creating a constructor here, and that takes one parameter of the standard controller name. We the standard controller, and that is the parameter name is called as the std. The variable name is std controller. Okay. Now here I'm saying get the record. Now where is this get record method? The get record method isn't present in the standard controller, whichever standard controller we are talking about. Either it is an account object or an opportunity, that depends on when we call it. Okay, so it will automatically know which standard controller it is, and those standard controller will have the get record method. Okay, so the extension constructor is going to initialize the private member variable, which is basically this one, by using the get record method from the standard controller. So get record the method is available in the standard controller, and it is going to go ahead and use this. Okay, and here I'm creating another method. Okay, and the name of my method is public string get greeting. Okay, this is the name of my method, and this particular method, see, you never have to use this whole name when you have to call this method. Okay, if you just say greeting, it will know that we are talking about this get greeting. Okay, because we are using the same nomenclature, that's why it knows. Instead of calling get greeting, you don't have to do that. You just, by saying greeting, it will know that I have to call the get greeting method, and it'll say return hello plus account dot name, and it was going to give me the ID plus, and I'm going to go ahead and give a closing brace as well. So I'm going to go ahead and close it here, and then this one. This is just a string concatenation. Okay, this is, you want a bracket here, account ID, and then you want to close the bracket. Okay, so this is what it is. So this is my controller extension. Now I'm going to call this controller extension in my code. Okay, so you can just go ahead and go to your VF example. I'm going to call another one, VF example number 2. Here you are going to go, because here we are kind of extending the functionality of our standard controller using this controller extension. So I need to define what is my standard controller that I'm using and what is my name of this. Okay, so because this extension needs either a standard controller parameter or a custom control, because controller extension is going to extend the functionality. Okay, it's not going to create, and it's not going to do, it's going to add to the functionality of that standard controller or of that custom controller. Okay, so if I go back here, and now I'm going to say the extensions, you can use multiple extensions, and we will see how to use them in the next one, but this is how I'm going to call this particular extension here. So I'm going to go ahead and give the name here of this extension, and I'm not going to go ahead and call the get greeting, and I already told you, you can just call the greeting here. Okay, and this greeting is basically going to call that particular method here. let us go back to the account object and pull up the account object because it needs the ID. So we're gonna go ahead, get the ID, get this one, get this ID, put it here. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and display the form here. Input field. I'm going to create a command link here. And the command link, the value I'm going to use, so you don't have to define the save method because you're using a standard controller. Standard controller has the save method, so it is getting called from that particular save method. Okay, but in the controller, custom controller, we ended up declaring our own save method. But custom controller extension already knows that there is a save method in the standard controller, so I do not have to worry about that. Okay, so now it works. So what it is doing, it is saying greeting. Now what is this greeting is doing? Greeting method is saying hello, and let me give some space here. Hello, and then the account name. Now what is the account name? This is the account name, Express Logistics and Export. Let me give some, refresh the page here. So it's going to give you space, Express Logistics and Transport, and then it had a star along with it. That was, this is whole name. And then the ID in the brackets. So why? Because this is the way it is going to pull up the ID. First thing is, by this line what happened, this particular part of the code was called. The standard controller is which? Account is the standard controller. Okay, so it says standard controller get record, means whatever the ID I am providing, the get record method is fetching the ID and giving me the account object. Okay, and it is putting into this variable called ACCT. Now I'm calling the greeting method. So what it is in ACCT? ACCT has that account record. Okay, that record with that ID that you're giving here. Now I'm saying in the greeting, hello, what is the record? Give me the name of it. So this particular line gave the whole account record with the name, industry, everything. So I am just displaying the name and the ID. So this greeting method did that. Okay, next thing is input field value is account.name. Input field is what? To get the input from the user. So what is the value of it right now? The account name. So what is the value of the account name? This whole name of the account, which is Express Logistics and Transport. So if you go ahead and remove this one, and then if you, this is a link, instead of creating a button, you created a link. You can create a button as well here. If I just go ahead and change it to button, it's going to go ahead and create a button here. Now, the same action you need to do. What is the save? Where is the save defined? Save is defined in the standard controller. Okay. And then you end up saving it. Since you're using a save, it takes you to this page. Okay. And if instead of using a save, if we did something called as quick save, let's see what happens there. Oof, I need to go back to my page again. So if I go back here, go VF example number 2 here. And you pull up the ID is equals to this one, and instead of save, if you change it to quick save, see that one redirected to the other page, right? Now if I just go ahead and save this, let me go ahead, save it here, See, now if you go ahead and do a save here, it did not redirect to the page. You know what I'm saying? Because you're using a quick save. That's why it did not redirect it to that page. Okay, that is what that is the difference between a save and a quick save. And it changed the account name to FSFSF, whatever it is, but it didn't. It stayed on the same page. So did you know what is quick save and save now? We talked earlier in the class today, the save and quick save, and I was telling it will redirect you to the page. It will not redirect you to the page. So quick save is going to stay there, and if you're using a save, it will take you to the detail page. Okay. Any questions on this one? Priyanka and Abhinav, are you following? Okay. Now, the next thing is one last thing for today, and then we're going to wrap it up. Okay. So let's go ahead, and now I told you in the controller extensions, this is the last example, so we'll wrap it up by 12, don't worry. Okay, so what we're going to go ahead and do is, in the standard controller, I just want to tell you, you can use multiple extensions. Okay, and if you're using multiple extensions, let's see, let's first go ahead and create two different classes. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and create Apex classes here, and Apex class number 1 and number 2. Okay, I'm going to say public class, the name of is 1, creating a constructor. Because I'm using a controller extension, it is going to take one parameter. The name of the parameter, either it can be a what do you call, the standard controller, or it can be a custom controller. So pages dot of standard controller, that is what I'm using. Okay, and that's it. I've just created it. And here public string, I'm calling this method getFoo. Okay, and in this getFoo, I am returning, this is the method that I have. Okay, and it returns you Deepika 1. Okay, and it returns you Deepika 1 here. And then I'm going to create same exact one. Okay, so I'll go back here. We did a save here. So this is a this is a controller extension. The name of it is 1. Okay, and we are defining it as a constructor here. Constructor takes one parameter of standard controller, but we are not doing anything in that constructor. Okay, and then there is a method here called getFoo, which returns you this text called Deepika 1. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and create another class here. We'll call it as 2. Okay. The second extension that I'm going to call, so I'm going to go ahead and call this one, and I'm going to call it as 2. Okay, and here I'm going to say public class 2. Okay, and inside of this class I am saying, so this is my public class 2 here. Okay, and inside of this public class 2 I am saying public 2, I'm using the same constructor here, and inside of this I'm saying apex pages dot of standard controller, but you're not doing anything in that, so don't worry about it. So we'll just leave it as empty. Okay, but here I'm also going to call you in the same method that we have is the getFoo method that we defined for the other extension as well, but this time this method returns me 2 string. So it returns me a string called Deepika 2. So just to make a difference that Okay, just to create a point here. Okay, so this is the Deepika2 here. This is the same function. It returns different string, and that it returns a different string. Now I'm going to go ahead and create my page here, and in the page I'm going to say I'm using the same standard controller, but the extensions that I'm using, I'm going to use, first I'm going to use one, and then if you have multiple extensions you can just define it here. Okay, so 1 and 2 here. And the next thing is, there's nothing like this here. We are not displaying any record, nothing. We don't have any ID, we don't have anything here. Okay, we just have a simple, we're using a standard controller called account. Extensions are 1 and 2. 1 and 2 we have already defined here. 1 will return you a text called Deepika1, and the 2 extension returns a text called Deepika2. That's it. Okay, but here in my class, now I'm going to go ahead and call that particular method. Okay, and Apex output the text means if you just wanted to output something, you just wanted to show something on the screen, there is a tag available called output text. And what this text does, it just going to display you the value of that method that you have called. So here you do not have to call get foo. You just need to call foo, and it knows you're talking about this get foo method. Okay, you do not have to define, you don't have to write the whole name of the method, you just have to write foo here, and it knows which foo you are talking about. It will always automatically call the get foo method. Now you're using two extensions, 1 and 2 extensions you're using. Which foo method will get printed? Either it will print Deepika1 or will it print Deepika2. So the first one takes the priority. Here, whatever is in the get1, in the one foo method, that is going to get printed, which is what it is, Deepika1. So the string that will be shown on the screen would be Deepika1. If I go ahead and save this one, and I'm going to go ahead and run this, you're going to see it is going to print Deepika1. Because one took over the priority, has the better priority than the second extension. If you reverse the order, if you go ahead and change from 2 to here to this one, then what will happen? Then the 2 takes the priority and it is going to display the Deepika2 here. Okay, so when you can use multiple extensions, and if you're using multiple extensions, it is going to be whichever is defined first will take the higher priority. Okay, so in the leftmost extension will be the higher priority. So leftmost is this one. So this has the higher priority. That's why the Deepika2 got returned. Did you get it, guys?
Yes.
Got
Sure.
it? Okay. So these are all the controller extensions, custom controllers, standard controllers, and everything. Okay. Tomorrow, I will have to see if there's anything that I've left. Probably if you want to do web services, we can do it, but that is very easy. It's not that complicated, web services. But if you want, we can cover it tomorrow and we can wrap it up. But other than that, I think it's almost done. And I will definitely going to tell you to do the project that I have given to you, those Udemy course. Go ahead and do that project on conference management. Go ahead and do that project. Okay. Um, and it'll help you to put together everything together, because that project uses admin part, it uses controllers, it uses Visualforce, it uses Apex class. So it uses everything together. Okay, so okay, Pranka, I'll try to put something together for the REST web services and see what we can do. Okay, okay then, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. We will meet at the same time then. If you want to do it at 11 o'clock, I don't mind doing it at 11 o'clock. Okay,
I will make it on 8.
no, you keep changing timing, Ravi.
Hey, I'm sorry. This day I told you I have to
Okay,
take my brother.
let me see
So
if
tomorrow,
we can do it 10 if you
yeah.
want. You want to do it 10?
Yep, will work.
Okay, so we'll do it 10 then.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, okay, bye.
Thanks.
Bye.